Hello, beloveds. I am so delighted to be here with you today. Yesterday, I had an article published in Elephant Journal, a fabulous online spiritual magazine, if you like. It's really covers a huge number of bases. And it was a great privilege to have an article published called "The Question That Set Me Free from My Unhappiness." And one of their delightful suggestions of how to share this with my tribe is to read it to you. So I'm going to do that now. I've made lots of videos on this topic, and you know, when you're making a video and you're talking off script, you're very ranty and I just kind of roll with it. So it'll be a different kind of experience, a lot more polished, to be able to share this with you now as a story. And I'm very delighted to do it, actually, because I really love having stories read to me. I love audiobooks. I love hearing the author's voice as they share with me their experience, because, of course, they've got a personal connection to it, as I do to this. So I'm going to start reading you the story of "The Question That Set Me Free from My Unhappiness." So last Christmas Eve, rather than being at home, being a good wife and a loving mother, I left home. I ditched the kids and abandoned my husband, who was baking in the kitchen. And I ran all over town until I found a tattoo artist who could ink me. Without question or doubt, I knew that this was the day I had to get these 6 words tattooed on my body. That day I needed it to be part of my physical being. As my house filled with people, presents, and the pressure of it all, I needed a reminder of the problemlessness. When I first connected to this question, it was like something cracked open inside of me to let the light in. I was sitting in my psychologist's office, listing off all the things I needed to fix about myself. He looked at me bemused. When I stopped talking, he stared me right in the eye and asked, "What if there is no problem?" The world stopped. Everything since that moment has changed for the better. I couldn't just write this down on a piece of paper. I needed a permanent reminder of this question that would become my personal mantra. I needed to look at this every minute of every day, because for the first time in my life, I had a handle on how to get some freaking inner peace. I needed that tattoo as a declaration of personal transformation. The transformation in me came from a simple realization: I am not a problem. I had been pathologizing myself for as long as I could remember. Want the recipe for permanent unhappiness? I had it. I fixated on the belief that when I sorted out the problem that was me, everything would make sense. I kept myself miserable and suffering for a long time. As a spiritual seeker, I was particularly good at using personal development as a weapon of self-destruction. I could identify all my personal failings and the backstory to them with ease, but it brought me no peace. I was always at odds with myself. In that moment of cracking open what was concealed for so long became clear. The perfect version of me didn't exist. The need for it kept me from my own happiness, and the problems of my life, well, were they? No matter how grievous or painful or humiliating or shameful or despairing or enraging my experiences were, they were just life. It was my story about them that made them good or bad. And when I saw it in that way, I was free to live my life. I was no longer defeated by it. This radical acceptance made me recognize that I wasn't a baking mama. I am an out getting tattooed on Christmas Eve mama. But this is not the end of the story. As I went deeper into my own self-acceptance, something remarkable happened in my relationship with the world. What if all the problems were not a problem? I noticed, as observed from this perspective, that we are attuned to look at the events of the world as a problem. We are entrained into the problematization of life. We are taught to measure our reality by what we do not yet have or that which we have lost. We're not trained to accept that this is just life happening. And good or bad, this too shall pass. When we switch the filter from problem to acceptance, the fear begins to dissipate. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that the problems stop. The problems don't stop. In fact, the more awake we become to ourselves, the more aware we are that the problems of the world are endless. But our worry doesn't transform the situation we are experiencing or seeing. It only adds to it. What if I stop seeing problems at all? What might just change the world, just as it changed me, is this shift in perspective. Reducing the world to its problems doesn't let us embrace reality as a continuum of experience. It is life happening. This shift set me free to act. I moved from overwhelm to empowerment, emboldened by my acceptance of what is. In accepting what is, I could take action to make necessary change. Acceptance of myself was the gateway to my personal peace. Shifting my perspective was as simple as changing my focus. Surrendering judgment is a radical act, but it is possible. I began by letting go of the addiction to judging myself. Next up, I stopped judging the world. And perhaps the peace I found in me can be found out there too. So that is my article as read by the author from Elephant Journal, published yesterday, the question that set me free from my unhappiness. I will share the links with you, and I would love, love, love for you to share this far and wide. Much love to you all, dear ones, and thank you for listening.